So, say right, everyone, and we'll start off with apologies for absence.
We've had apologies from Councillor Sadler, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Paul Marshall and Councillor Emma Beard. The Horsham councillors are at meetings, or Emma is at a meeting at least.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any declarations of interest? Minutes of the previous meeting. Has everybody had a chance to peruse, make any comments, amendments? We all okay?
Anybody want to propose and anybody want to second? Thank you very much, Tony and Alan. Thank you.
Thank you. And matters arising.
Matters arising. Anything? Oh, just item from the last meeting that we were investigating the technology for recording meetings, so that's ongoing, really. And obviously, it would take a resolution of the council as well, but we just need to look into the technology and make sure we've got it right.
That's for the streaming elements, I
Yes,
think, isn't it?
and that really we can't post anything on our current website, or our new website when it's up and running December, January, then it will have the capacity to post.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. Public participation. Any of you guys from the public wishing to
I'm here as a councillor.
ask a question? Thank you. County Council matters we will be hopefully listening to next time.
Yeah.
And District Council matters.
I'll do that, that's okay.
Yeah.
I will start with some very sad news, which is that Helen Peacock, who was the HDC Head of Sustainability and Green Spaces, died last Thursday. She only became ill in September, and it has been a massive shock to everybody at HDC. She's driven forwards the work that's been done through the council in terms of Wild of Horsham and many other initiatives, the River Declaration and so on and so forth. She was well loved, did her planning training age 21, 30 years ago, and has been at HDC since then. And it's come a massive shock to everybody. So basically, just to let people know that people in the opposite the Horsham are really from that news.
Can we minute to the parish council sentences to family, friends and colleagues?
We have as councillors. A very quick update on the thing I mentioned last month, which is about the question that was asked at full council in October by Councillor Jill Perry, who's the Henfield councillor. She basically asked about the lack of provision for public toilets in Horsham, and asked if a toilet scheme, community toilet scheme, could be introduced. I'm really pleased to say that the question she asked was basically, I'll give you a very brief, I can give you the one if you want later, but basically she highlighted the lack of sufficient public toilet facilities in many of the high streets and communities across Horsham, highlighting also that Storrington had none and Henfield don't have very easily accessible ones. Other councils have successfully implemented community toilet schemes in which local businesses are supported with a small annual grant to allow the public access to use their toilets without needing to make a purchase, benefiting both the business practices and the residents. And that annual amount is dependent on how open the facility would be. So if they're open 18 hours a day, then that business would get more, and so on. So the question was, would Horsham consider introducing a community toilet scheme? And it was the answer was a resounding yes, which I'm very pleased to report. So Horsham District Council will deliver a community toilet scheme along the can't wait card scheme, which is where people who have issues with waiting to go to the toilet can actually approach certain establishments. They're going to do this through the new Market Towns Economic Alliance, which is shortened to RMTEA. I can't give you any more details about that because the first meeting to brief us on that will be tomorrow. But I will send an email out to all councils about that. The Rural Market Towns Economic Alliance will be covering Billingshurst, Enfield, Steyning, Storrington and Pulborough. And HDC have identified that the likely pilot areas for the toilet scheme will start with Enfield and Storrington, as they are the parties who have already shown interest. So that's some good news. And the last thing, I actually wasn't at the meeting in October because I was away on leave, but a motion was brought to council about TPOs being removed on trees. I don't know if people have been following this, but in Cowfold and in Billingshurst, 2 oak trees have had tree protection orders removed from them because insurance companies had implicated the roots of these trees in subsidence. And 2 very big campaigns, in fact, the Billingshurst Parish Council meeting is happening tonight where they'll be thinking about what happens. So a motion passed at council in October asking the Cabinet Member for Planning and Infrastructure to write to the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and Local Government and the Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, urging them to review and amend the legislation governing TPOs and compensation liability, and to request that the Local Government Association and relevant professional bodies like the Horticultural Association will support this call for reform and engage with government on behalf of local authorities. So I think the basic nub of this is that rather than just removing the TPOs without thinking about other ways of managing it, that they will do that. And another issue that had arisen from this was that the TPOs were being removed without the district council being informed. So there's been some issues with that. I guess the final thing is is important is that yesterday, we had confirmation that the water neutrality statement has been withdrawn. We promised a briefing as district councillors next week. I have pushed back on this because we've seen no evidence of why National England has made this decision, apart from referring to agreements and reports which I haven't seen. So I'll keep you up to date with all of that. But the good news is that HDC are still keen to keep the water restriction measures going in terms of planning going forwards. But it's quite an uncertain picture basically. So watch the space. So happy to take any questions if that's helpful.
Does anybody have any questions, Claudia? Thank you. Now we move on to Warden's report to the full council. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Just thought I'd update you with a couple of the things that we're pushing on with. Due to the success of the fun day this year, we have enough funding in the kitty to be able to run it next year. So it's August the 17th. We're going to actually, started on the booking all of the stuff for the day as well. And I believe some of the councils are going to help out with the toasties this year. So that's going really good. Our cover and a chat, that's getting stronger and stronger because we're still have the facilities to use the community minibus. We're actually being able to pick up between 8 and 10 of the residents that are vulnerably isolated, and they come to our cover and chat now, which is making a difference. Last time we had about 25 residents, and we've got some more other people booked in. They don't want to acquaintances that just want to chat. They just enjoy chatting, a cup of tea, and that's going really well. We've also got enough funding to be able to, we're going to take 10 of them, well actually 15, because they want to drive themselves to the Christmas lunch at the Old Barn this year as well. So 1st of December we're taking them there. The other thing that's really going well as well are autism and SEN stay and play groups. Our first one was tonight. It's a little bit quieter because of 5 at night, but lovely to see some new kids turn up. That's going really well. We've just heard that the funding will carry on to the end of the financial year from Horsham. After that, we don't see it as a problem. So that's going great. I suppose the advantage to it is it's nice to see the kids play, and the other advantage to it is the mums don't feel pressured. If the kids has a meltdown, they have a meltdown, because everybody understands, and that's what makes it pleasant for all of them. And we've got a couple of Charlotte's coming 1 week, and we have another group called the Legals in Horsham. They're a family support group. Sam comes along and helps us every week as well, so that's quite.
I'll be coming again.
Yeah, it's no problem. I was to say I was impressed. I was really impressed with the community spirit of Hanover Walk. They gave us the opportunity to use the community pool. So if you don't use the community pool, they're going to lose it. So I've been doing a community cafe there once a month and bingo. I managed to get out several times without fights, but that's just well worth doing. But some of the residents come up to me and spoke to me, and they were talking about. I know we've got a lovely lot of DFIDs in the area. There's quite a lot of older residents in Hanover Walk. So we've arranged a Christmas market this year where all the profits, they want to buy their own DFID. So I'm going to help them get a DFID for their actual thing. And because they have 5 blocks, any other money that's left, we're going to arrange for 5 people to be first aid trained, so they can look after their own block. And that's really about it. Everything's going fine.
Got Dave as well, as well.
Oh yes, we've got a new colleague starting 1st of December.
Okay.
Dave.
Oh, right. Good.
Yeah, so that's good. He's a local as well.
Well, you say that's about it, Chris, but there's actually quite a lot you've done there, so really good.
That's just this week.
Yeah. That's before breakfast.
Yeah.
No, that's just great work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd just like to recognise that. I sent an email before the meeting. I wasn't sure if Chris would be here, but I think it's quite phenomenal the amount of reach of your engagement and the different communities. I've said it before, so I'll say it again, especially because it's just you at the moment, Chris, so I think it's excellent. So I'd just like that recognised.
Okay, and now we move on to referrals.
Sorry, I can't ask a question, but I understand you've got to be fairly circumspect here because this is being recorded. But Chris, I've been contacted by a number of residents about Ravenscroft and issues that are happening there.
For where, sorry?
Ravenscroft.
Right.
And I understand that there was an incident there which we won't go into any further last week. I have requested in my role as district councillor and as a parish councillor some sort of briefing from the police inspector who is being, how can I put this delicately, slightly reticent in doing so and has asked me to put in a request through the parish council, which I've done with Rebecca and asked her to do so. I will also do the same with the district. We need at some point, perhaps in camera, to discuss issues of antisocial behaviour and drugs in the Ravenscroft area. I'll just leave it at that.
I will let you know. I have actually spoken to the inspector, and there is no briefing to give out as yet because these matters, some obviously very sensitive matters locally, are still under investigation. So it wouldn't be right at this time to do that. So he's not reticent to give the information. He's just actually there is no prudent.
It would be nice to know.
He has actually committed that when he's in a position to do so, he will give a full briefing. But I know as much as you do.
It would be nice if the police could give some idea on what their plans are to make sure that the area is safe.
I think that would probably fall into an item agenda if we could get the police along, maybe get some questions to them and do it that way. But for the time being, the events in that locality are still under investigation. So
Perhaps we can put it on the agenda for December then, please.
if we can organise the police resource to actually do that, and if they're in a position to do so. But if you can just make a note.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, well, good.
okay, thank you. Referrals and recommendations from committees. Explain.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we have the grant, this is confusing, the grant application request agenda item below.
So this was, it came to the finance meeting last week and it's down below somewhere for you to discuss, so it's an
So
agenda
we'll
item.
move on.
Yeah, move on from that.
Bullet point by bullet point.
Yeah.
And ICE committee approval of invoice for High Street Christmas trees, 7,434 plus VAT, offset by income including 3,372, £850 sponsorship and £500 in a grant.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is because it was above 5,000, we couldn't do it at committee level, but in fact this has been budgeted for, it's part of our event that we budgeted for this time last year, and it's offset by income anyway, so we're spending money on Christmas trees, and the retail units then reimburse us. I think it's £25 per tree, isn't it? I think they pay.
So in reality that's the gross figure,
Yes, it is.
and so we're looking for a
That's
net
right.
figure after receipt of
Something like, oh, let's not do the maths, 3,000 something, isn't it?
yeah, so it's about,
Yeah.
it covers about
It's exactly what we expected. In fact, we've actually got some additional sponsorship because we went out to local businesses and offered them a package, so we've had £800 in sponsorship, I think, that we weren't expecting as well. So.
Is that in addition to this 850, is that for?
That's 850 in there. Yeah. So, but we weren't expecting another. Brilliant. Yeah. You've done amazingly well. Yeah.
Thank you, suppose.
Thank you.
One second.
Thank you very much.
agreed to the total.
Agreed. Are we agreed on that? On the expenditure? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well,
Thank you. Climate emergency declaration, again an agenda item which we'll move on to, as is the IT policy and the communications policy. Website visuals.
just give a little update.
Yeah. So we've just got a link here, which is the first thing we've seen from the supplier, and it's based on a number of templates that other parish councils adopt. So it's not a highly creative initiative. It's a functional thing. But there's a little subcommittee with myself, Andy, Rebecca, and John. So we'll look at that in a bit more detail next week. There are a few things we would like to change, just to get the best impact. But it was really, the reason it's on the agenda is just to see if anyone's got any sort of high-level comments. I mean, we're not proposing that the website is approved by committee in the sense of every sentence. It's just a sort of, it's a look with a logo, a colour scheme, a structure and a site plan that we look creative.
Because initially we thought we might be able to do it for the beginning of December, but we think that timetable's a bit optimistic. optimistic, so you would look to push it to the new year. To make sure we also come back next full council with a more formed website.
It makes sense, because we need to get it right.
Yeah.
Right, no rush.
Yeah.
So do you want us to respond with any comments to you by email if it's going to be
Yeah,
pushed
if
back
there's
or-
any sort of high level things that you think, why don't you? Or but there are, I wouldn't worry too much about the content, because the content,
Yeah.
the content will be edited. Things like, you know, the order of things and the wording, welcome, and
Yeah.
there's additional information that we'll put on. This is what's called basic
Yeah.
content. So yeah, if you've got any thoughts, throw them in the mix, and then we've got our next
Yeah.
meeting on next Wednesday. So
Is that the 19th?
no, 12. There's 4 of us. We'll just
Oh,
look at,
just to look at the website.
just to look at
Yeah.
and collate our own suggestions and any other input from
So this is just,
no Charlotte.
Because my-
this is just wireframe now at the moment.
Effectively,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just had some comment before, which is design related, not content related, which is, I think I've spoken to you about before, but I'll put in an email, which relates to finding a way to enable our community to contribute content, which is essentially photographs, and that is, you know, lots of people post on Facebook and lovely photos that they've taken out on walks, the area, the high street, people enjoying themselves, and it's just a really good way to invite collaboration. I appreciate that. That also comes down to design, the design scheme of but if it's in WordPress or something similar, it's fairly easy to do. So I'll put it in an email.
Yeah.
That's my only design request, really.
Would that be a sort of carousel?
Well, it could be, or it could be. I'd leave the design to them, because there is a carousel there, but it's that sort of invitation to sort of send us your photos and
Yeah,
and just, you know, there might be one changed every couple of weeks. It's to keep it.
yeah.
But I just see a lot of photography on social
Yeah.
media around the village, and it's just a nice way
You should
to
be
be able to
recommending.
share that as
And
well.
old photography as well, you know.
Yeah, and old
That's
photography.
nice to see.
Sunsets, anything. We have actually picked that up as a thing.
No.
We have picked it up as an edit, and I think that'd be a really nice thing to engage the community when we launch it.
Yeah.
We can start off with a few pictures, and then we can invite people to
We had a photography competition every year, didn't we?
You can do.
Yeah.
Also asked Peter to help with providing some material so that it is quite photo heavy, especially on the homepage. So we'll get on to that.
Mine's just really teeny, and it's not really an R&D mode, but, you know, there should be obviously, and I know this is the basic metro, but have some logo or something about the fact that we restore British.
Yeah.
It should be in. It will be in the welcome.
Yeah.
That was a very first draft.
No, yeah, but I was just sort of to see something.
Just put it in the email, because
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
got these ideas.
No, that's fine.
It's easy to miss some stuff.
And it's all machine readable as well.
Yeah.
So it's all compliant.
Yeah.
There is, I mentioned to you the other day, the logo. Did you get the email about the logo?
The parish logo.
Yeah.
The quality of it, etc.
No, you said something around saying we've got to standardise the logo.
Yeah.
And I said, don't overlook the fact that we've agreed that the logo will change. Because
Oh, was it?
at the moment, the logo is solely Storrington. And at the time that
That logo.
yeah,
It's Storrington and Sullington.
no, it doesn't say,
It's missing a windmill, I think that's
There's
what
no
it is.
windmill.
Yeah.
Oh,
the idea, this was a battle I had ages ago with the old council. It was minuted that when the councils merged, there would be a new logo to incorporate Storrington and Sullington. Over the years, Sullington has sort of sunk out of recognition and Storrington has taken over.
But I think that's going to be an entirely separate thing to the website, because if we drop a logo into the website, we all drop a logo into the website. So I think the logo discussion we probably need to take as a separate priority.
Totally happy, but
Yeah.
every so often.
Oh, yeah. Bring it up, make sure that we're thinking.
Every so often the logo sort of slips behind other
Yes.
things on the agenda. But
Yeah.
just sort of while the camera's on you.
It's good, yeah. Well, let's put that, make some room for that discussion, which won't affect the design, it will just be what the logo
Doesn't
will be.
matter at all to me that it's not on the first thing. It's the fact
It's
that
in
the
there.
old
Yeah.
website had stuff in it that it costs us money to change. And I'm just thinking,
Yes, sure.
that's all it is.
Yeah, brilliant, thanks Richard. Okay, I think we've talked about toilets, haven't we?
Yes.
Thank goodness. Indeed those. Now, Councillor Aikenhead, Scout Association lease variation.
Yes, this hasn't progressed at all yet. It started by an email from, I don't know the surname, Martin, the Scout leader. They're obviously a bit cramped on space. They would like to fence in the side of classes and look at it. I met Martin for the first time last week at the Remembrance Parade meeting that was held in the Anchor. And we agreed after the parade was all gone and we've got more time to meet up over coffee so we could understand, or I understand clearly, what they would like. And there's nothing radical. It's not quite as simple as agreeing something with a local body there. The lease is in the name of the National Scouting Association based in London. So I think what I think will happen is we'll get an idea of what they would like and we'll report back to the council. If it meets with an acceptance, then I think he has to get the association to contact us, because ultimately it's not his decision, it's the National Association's decision.
Okay, so we've got an agreement in principle to discuss it, but we haven't got the detail.
So, the conversation I've had with them is very amenable, not pushy, they just would like a little bit more space, which is probably understandable. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Now we move on to the grant application request, as mentioned earlier, PCC grant application.
Sill. What are you thinking of it? Did you want to update on the Sill bit at this point, Bill, or not?
We're waiting to hear John's
Because
probably
Claudia found out some information
Probably
today.
maybe the best person
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
do
Thank you. Okay, so as a district councillor, I've been asked to chase what was going on with it. Lots of phone ping pong going on with Julia Hayes, and then finally I sent an email this morning. She called me back, and so I put in a brief email exactly what she said. So it's the first time that they have been through this process, and what I didn't say here, but what they were told by the authorities that have been through it is not to discount how long it takes, basically. But they nevertheless have vastly underestimated the work that's needed to be done before proceeding to scoring. They've needed significant legal support, so go back and forwards to the HTC legal team to understand the ramifications of the Subsidy Control Act 2022, because it's not clear. And the delay has not been because of helping bids to improve their scores, but instead to check that each application meets basic eligibility. Some bids were in grey areas, so there were 4 things or from groups that they weren't quite sure if were eligible or not. A lesson they've learned from the next time is to make sure that the original application form irons out these grey areas, so they don't have to go back, which has delayed them. There are still some bids waiting for clarification or information to come from the bid makers, but the hope is that the team will finally proceed to scoring within the next 2 to 3 weeks, However, this requires a further meeting with a SIL expert to finally confirm that that is going to be possible. So they don't want to declare a time and then not meet it. So they, before declaring any kind of timeline, they need to make sure that any timeline they declare is realistic. She explained that there are many bid makers who are frustrated with the delay, not just Storrington. I did very clearly say how much Storrington is a hub village and that we provide services for lots of other parishes around, and that we're basically a breaking point and we really need to know what we're eligible for. She expressed that not only are other bid makers frustrated with the delay, but so are the officers who are running the scheme. So she was very sympathetic about that. She assured me that no other bids are being gold-plated during this time, and has said that updates on timings will be coming soon. I asked if she would put a statement up on the HDC website to explain the delay, so we could point the groups that are chasing us, because I could say, you know, the officers are sort of protected because nobody knows who they are, whereas parish councillors, you know, our names are on the website and people can come to us and say what's going on, but we don't have any control on this. So she's very happy to do that, and she said that she'd let me know and also all the applicants know when that's been done. So I hope that's helpful. It doesn't really get us any further, but it just did express. Yeah.
Is the inference then that we have met the criteria to at least get us to scoring? So they're happy with
She didn't talk about a specific one. I did say that what you said, which was that if you had more time, you might have been able to make it better.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any sense that the application had major flaws. So I think she would come back with that. Do you have that? Yeah. Yeah. So that doesn't make sense at all.
So no news is good news.
Yeah, but they do know, they are sympathetic, and they are going to try and get some kind of timescale for that. You know, once they start scoring, they'll be able to say, we're starting to score now, and that's going to take X amount of weeks to
Do you
get
have any idea of how they're going to score, or who's scoring, or whether
the officers going to score, I think.
Okay.
And the criteria for scoring is set within that, within the legislation.
Okay.
Because I think the other thing to understand is that obviously they're giving out public money, and therefore they've got to be really careful, because if they give out money without being exercising due diligence, then other people are going to come back and say, why did you do that? So they have to be really careful.
Are they aware of the impact on parish councils preparing budgets? Sorry, 26, 27.
I think they're aware that it's frustrating for everybody on those things, and I think they can't change it, basically. So, yeah.
That was helpful to know, because we kept asking questions but not really getting any answer.
Well, the first time I got
everyone
answered that just didn't answer the question, so I just said that doesn't really help. Could you tell us, will you be able to do this by the end of the year, or if not by the end of the year, end of January, end of February, end of March? Can you just give us something? And then she called me and we had a chat.
We should assume we're not going to get anything. And then any impact of anything happening will be a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did really emphasise how the facilities are at a breaking point and a breaking point.
So we now move on to the Brayhill Church Council grant application. Total amount of grant.
This is the
church
Sullington, at my Sullington Manor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
Sullington Lane, where the submarine thing is.
That's as clear as mud.
Yes.
The I think it was the what's the
Where this churchyard is?
Well, it can
Is it
be.
the-
We're not.
There's a remembrance one out there, it's the submarine
But remember, this is the one that I think historically had always he's been looking for that
Yes.
and incorporated it last year.
He.
And of course, the
Yes.
that is how it comes to
It's
be.
lovely.
Easy to read the accounts. But that village is something like,
Payments.
This is the one that put it there, is it? So if you go out of the village towards Washington, you've got the water lane on left, is literally the right one. You turn right down the gate and
Looks like a little lane.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a farm lane.
but it's that area, that's what we're talking about. Good.
I think that looking at this, the question would be, they seem to have fair amounts of cash. There's been a historical contribution of that grant of £1,000 every year, and the question is this something that we think was realistically a wise use of our money to an organisation that's sitting on quite a lot of cash? I don't think that's a fair summary.
No, they're sitting on a lot of cash, and basically, it's not justification because we've been doing it for years, but we have been doing it for years, and why stop? We're spending lots of money on other things, where I think the cost of keeping up the graveyard is about £3,000 a year, and they ask us for £1,000. They do a brilliant job raising money themselves by having a flower show. So they make all their own efforts to raise money to support the church and the churchyard. And I can see reasons why you'd say, no, we shouldn't do it. But I can also see it should be done.
But do we do it with other churches?
Eh?
Do we do it with other churches in the village?
Well, no, we only do the Sullington one. I think the Sullington one probably is historic from the previous council, because they were doing their things and have done it for years. But the fact that we might not do it for other churches doesn't necessarily, I think,
Well,
say
we
no.
haven't had any requests from
No.
the churches.
No.
And also, I suspect it goes back to a stage where the two parishes were separated. And it was before the merger. And maybe at some point in the past it was agreed, might be wrong then, that the big parish would look after some elements of what was the smaller parish. I think, personally, it would be wrong to say completely no, when we go back and say that you may have to reduce the amount, if that doesn't sound easy. I think Richard's right, they do raise money themselves. It is a lovely setting up there. No, that's not the reason to give them money, but it's a small community up there that supports that church. And when I did the remembrance with last year, which I'm really pleased to be on, looking forward to bringing it next time, they were really pleased that a representative of Storrington Parish, in fact, neither from there. And I think it was quite humbling to actually get their pleasure at seeing something. I think it would be a great pity just to say no. The council may decide collectively to reduce the amount, but that's just
Do we have a note of what we gave last year? Because in the back of my mind, I've got an
reduced
idea.
it a bit.
I've got an idea that 1 year when it came up, it reached down to 750, and then I just got feeling that we put it back up again.
Last year, I think there was an assumption that the money would just be paid over, and it was when Paul was locoming here, and he agreed it. He asked why were they not doing it formally for a grant application, and I think because you didn't want to sort of upset the apple cart too much, or you thought they maybe rely on it, you did stick with the usual amount, which was £9.75. But this year we agreed that anything that did go to them would just come out of the general grant fund that we have. And there isn't a great deal of money left in it now, and we may get other requests later in the year as well from people or in organisations facing hardship. So I think that just needs to be borne in mind.
I'm pretty sure that a formal application, whether it came on a formal application form, but I am certain that the formal application form came in because...
It did, because we asked them to.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
every year... Yeah, well, okay, they made a request and then we followed up and said...
I think what we're coming to here is that in past years these things have just been an assumption, and that's always been done. We've not really had a process that's been opened up to this type of debate. I think it's also worth considering that this is not strictly a commercial or business proposition, because we're a community, and so it's not just simply, you know, have they got money, have they not? There's other areas, there's goodwill, there's relationship and everything else, which is very community-centric. So I would suggest that what we do, unless somebody's got some really strong views, that we take a vote on it as to whether we actually contribute £1,000 as requested.
Okay, so is it just yes, no, or are you going to consider another amount? Is it yes or no to 1,000?
I think we should
Consider a lower amount.
Which is, can we find out what the suffer that don't get 1,000? Because we know other
What are they asking
organisations
for?
may be in a position where they are getting suffer.
I think we run the risk of isolating. You know, they're not in the central village, and the other two churches are, and I think they could easily sort of be, or feel like sort of going sort of a bit forgotten that they're tucked out on the side, and almost for that reason as well.
Just in answer to Andy's question, this is contribution towards the cost of maintaining the churchyard for the benefit of the community. The costs are gardening, lawn mowing and hedge trimming. The annual cost of this they are quoting is £3,000 per annum to perform that, so they're asking for 33% of the annual cost.
But I'm sure St Mary's and also the Catholic Church have similar costs in maintaining their graveyards as well.
I don't know if it's helpful, but the Param we have 3 churches within the parish, and we have traditionally been giving, I think it was either £50 or £100 a year, and then a decision was made that basically if they requested we would debate it and then agree it probably, but if they didn't request it we would just automatically send it. And I think that's quite a good kind of model here.
Yeah.
So we can't just give money out to people because we think we need it or because it's fair, but they are actually requesting it.
That's a formal process.
As a formal process,
To be
I think that
discussed.
needs to be respected, but I also think Melissa's point about them being quite isolated, and Sullington quite often feeling like the poor relation in the Sullington and Storrington kind of mix is also something she don't want.
Can I say, with the St Mary's churchyard, I've got a feeling that the St Mary's in Storrington, I've got a feeling with their churchyard, it's possibly input from HDC, because Storrington do some work themselves. I mean, I think recently they won, didn't they, the churchyard of the year or something along where it's been maintained. But I think there's mixed payments there, where one bit is maintained by volunteers and one bit I think is funded by council. And I don't believe St Mary's Sullington is.
So they also, St Mary's also put in a request for pathways. That was a phenomenal amount of money. So I think they're getting, and they're getting the support of the village for the remembrance service, etc. And the Catholic church's graveyard is very, very small, just at the top there of Max Wood. So proportionately, I don't believe they don't ask us for anything, they manage that themselves. So I think it's a place of rest for residents and community, and out of respect, they've asked us to give a little bit of money to the upkeep of it, and I think, to Melissa's point as well, and we're saying that the people at the outskirts of the village deserve less than the ones sitting in it.
So I'm just going to make a suggestion here then, we sort of look at twofold voting, if that's possible, where we look at, first of all, is the sum of £1,000 something we want to vote on, or is something less that we want to?
I propose voting for it,
Yes, so £1,000 is the figure we'll be voting on.
Well, it will leave us quite short, to be honest. So, do you want to consider an amendment to that proposal first? Change the figure? Or are you only going to consider the full amount?
I'll go for the full amount.
Okay, so one proposed and one second, and how are we voting? That's pretty unanimous on the full figure. Okay, so who proposed and who seconded it? Richard, I think you proposed it again. Lovely, thank you. Thanks very much.
The whole thing about the load.
Okay, thank you. Richard, on meeting, please. Richard, on meeting, please.
Thank you.
Committee membership now, councillors, to consider and agree requests for A, Councillor Fisher to join the planning committee.
Lovely, thank you. Anyone seconding?
Yeah.
How are we voting on that? Everyone agreeing? Lovely, thank you very
Sorry,
much.
I couldn't hear what we were voting.
We're voting for Councillor Fisher to join the planning committee. Thank you very much.
And the next item for Councillor Manton to join the Neighbourhood Development Plan Steering Group, the NDP.
Thank you. Anyone seconding that? Just before we vote?
I'll second it.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everybody. And that nice segue there, that brings us straight on to Councillor Aikenhead's second update of the evening.
This will be really short. I haven't heard from the chief on the last time we met. It was over a month ago. So I can only assume that West Sullington's plan is still in the news, waiting to be decided. But maybe Councillor Manson can update on that.
Are we talking about neighbourhood plan or devolution preparation?
Neighbourhood plan. So West Sullington have done their plan. Was up for inspecting.
And it was stopped by Horsham, and Horsham have taken that stop off now, and I understand it is moving forward.
Okay, that'll be very interesting.
Where exactly it is, I'm not clear on, but that
Well, that's
Horsham did reinstate that about a month ago, and it's moving forward.
So I can probably expect, hopefully, before the next meeting, a communication from Northern Chair, but I should hopefully be able to give a further update now.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. And now we get on to devolution preparation. And obviously the absence of Councillor Sadler puts it in the hands of Councillor Manton to give us some information in terms of transfer of assets, and you attended the car parks meeting at Henfield.
We did attend the car parks meeting in Henfield, and I trust you all saw the email that Brian sent in, along with my amendments that followed. I apologise a little too much later because other issues got in the way.
No, I didn't get anything from that.
The meeting that we attended basically was a presentation by a sales director for, now it was put in the agenda as NCP, but it wasn't NCP, as we know, the big national car parks company, it was NPC. which is a small local company that seems to want to make its money out of people who violate parking conditions. And the problem that Brian and I had, that we were new there, we were told by the chairman of the meeting that there had been a previous meeting. We requested minutes of that previous meeting. We have to date not received any. We are concerned that perhaps it was just a collection of loose notes. But we were kind of dropped in it at that point. And really it was the other parish councils who were looking to outsource the management of their car parks. And Brian and I felt that we as a parish council hadn't really even got that far of whether we did. We were more concerned on could we all jointly, these other parish councils and us, approach West Sussex and Horsham and be considered competent to actually take over the car parks before we, as a parish council, decided what we wanted to do with them and how we wanted to manage them, whether we wanted to outsource, and if we did, under what terms. Because, again, in front of this sales director, a lot of people were giving, in my opinion, buying signals without actually having done any homework on their requirements specification, i.e. who they wanted to check the car parks, how many times a day to see whether somebody had breached the conditions, whether it was going to be through ANPR, whether ANPR was going to be outsourced to a company that would automatically send out penalty notices, penalty charge notices. The concern was then again that we as a parish council, we could end up upsetting our residents if somebody we outsourced to took a fairly aggressive approach. So there were lots of questions that were unanswered at that meeting. Brian and I were not entirely happy. We did report back to where we were. We wait really to see whether we get any minutes at the first meeting, and where we, and I think we should concentrate on phase one first of all, of being competent to actually take them over before we then sit down and decide how we want to run them.
I think I saw your response. You did reference Brian's email, which was the Coalition of the Willing or something, but I didn't actually see Brian's email.
Okay.
I only saw your referencing Brian's email.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I didn't actually
Brian
see that one. So if we could get that one across, but I mean, absolutely, you perform due diligence, you work out whether it's, you work out whether the whole thing's viable. Now, who's actually leading on this?
There was a chair, and forgive me, Brian may know, there was a lady, I think she was of the Henfield Parish Council, who adopted the role of chair. I don't, again, without the minutes of the previous meeting, we don't know how that was arrived at.
I think the meetings, Alan, have been quite informal up until now, so it's just the parishes getting together to brainstorm. Nothing's being proposed at this stage, it's just exploratory.
It did seem to go down
Parish
quite
councils don't have the power to enforce parking in their car parks, which is why you would outsource it to a management company. So I think they were exploring what the options were, but no one's committing to anything at all.
I think West Sussex have applied to take on powers to do enforcement.
Well, do we want them to manage our car parks, or do we want
No,
to
but they may be able
themselves?
to devolve those powers to us under this devolution.
Well, I think there'd have to be a change in the law for us to be able to do that. But we were looking at the other day at another meeting, weren't we? It's the Traffic and Transport Act of 2004 or something like that.
I think
But there would have to be a change in the law for us to be able to do that, which is why we're exploring at this stage.
They applied for 2024,
Did they?
and they got their ability to be able to do the policing,
Right,
which is what we're talking about ANPR,
Yeah.
and not that enforcement,
Yeah.
not for car parks.
I think, do we want to enforce is the other question, isn't it?
But the meeting was really just an exploration rather than, and we didn't expect a sales pitch either.
No, we thought it was exploration, and we got a sales pitch.
Sure, yeah, that wouldn't have worked for us either. But I think it was just to try and understand what the other parishes are thinking and just to listen and be part of it. So there was no sort of decision expected at that point, it was really to have feedback. So it sounds like they may be getting a little bit more ahead of us. So.
Yes, I don't think they have developed their thinking sufficiently at the moment.
We recognise we haven't yet.
Okay, so we're looking at it, that we're looking for a more formalised type of situation where people can actually dig much more into what this is all about and look at any pitfalls, any opportunities. So this is work in progress.
It is, and I'm looking forward, I think, with Brian to the Transport Committee to actually go into more detail there and develop how we see the way forward over the next 2 to 3 years. I think the first thing to do is to make ourselves competent to actually take ownership of the asset first.
Can I just ask, I'm not copied on any of these emails, so I don't know anything about it. So is that because it's going into a particular committee, or because I haven't seen anything about this at all with Pinfield Park Committee? I haven't got anything from Brian or from Alan. So is that because at the moment
came
it's
out of
just
the finance committee, this sort of devolution working group, and one of the things, it was looking at transfer of assets in general. And then
so there's nothing for us to action or read at the moment. I'm just thinking of a traffic and transport. It's not on a. It's not on a.
I mean, if you want to see, just to say, get all the information, but you don't want to overload either. I mean, once we start getting,
there's nothing sensibly to share yet.
No.
okay. Richard.
Something talking about the email. You'll remember I had a problem where I had loads of emails I've never seen, and they turned up in the groups.
Oh yeah.
So they went in groups, but they didn't come through on the SSPC. And I just wonder if this is the same thing happening, that for no reason that I can understand, and John and I sort of got together and still didn't figure out quite where they're going, but there is something that happens that puts emails in different boxes, and those emails are meant to come to everybody, because ironically I've seen all the emails that you're talking about.
I think that's an outlook setting, and I think that's when you will actually, an email will come in and go to the bottom of another thread, and it won't appear in your inbox for you to read. It will actually be at the bottom. I believe that's an outlook setting that we need to look at that, and then you will get, as an email comes through, you're presented with it as a new email to you, as opposed to being a tagged email onto another thread. Right. Does that make any sense?
I don't want to be rude, but
I think it's either core conversations is the one thing.
yeah.
And then the other one is criminal storage of emails, which requires my brain.
Yes.
The conversation.
Because sometimes you can look for an email and it takes you 100 years to find it.
Yeah.
I've got, tonight I was actually looking at something, and on sort of general email inbox, main inbox, I had a limited number of emails. When I went on something else, which is a 365 page or whatever, it said there plus or 999 emails plus of lying about. And if I go in, I can't delete it from the group.
Can we?
Anyway,
I mean that's something which I think we should get sorted out technically to make it a lot easier for us to access this information communication. I'm looking at you, John. Can anybody have a look at this?
I can look at your settings,
Or
because
we'll talk to
the layout of
RITs
the group,
we just
how
get
they're organised, and how if you've got your inbox on focus, it will decide what's important or not. That's not helpful. And if you have a message organisation that groups everything in conversations, that means that all the link and trail all together. That's also not helpful. I keep everything as individuals.
I think we just need some clarification to get this set up.
Yeah.
And do that.
Just to let you know, one thing I have asked for, that I've probably overstepped my authority as a district councillor, it was clear to me that the people who were talking had no idea what revenue the car parks were bringing in. So I have asked Emma at Portion to let me know, certainly for the car parks in Storrington, over the last 3 years, what the revenue generation is and what the maintenance costs are, so that we've got some basis.
I saw that. That's a good start.
So that we know what the size of the pie is before we
Yeah.
start.
No, that's a good start. I saw that email come through, and I thought, yeah, we need some proper numbers coming out to look at. So obviously, if and when that's forthcoming.
Haven't had an answer yet, but I'll ask.
Okay, we live in that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. HDC recommend that PC request a lease and the transfer of Plus Villarest.
Yeah, so we can't remember the name of the officer at the moment, can we? But we will do. And did he contact you, John, to talk about Place Villeray? And we thought that they were going to slap our wrists for something or other. But in fact, he was suggesting to us that we move from the current licence arrangement over to a lease, a more formal lease, and then perhaps progress to taking it on as an asset as part of devolution. But he was urging us, not to miss out on a good step to switch from our current licence, which they can, under that arrangement, they can give us like a month's notice to leave, can't they? So, which we wouldn't really want, because we like to look after it and to also we get income from letting it out as well.
And it's just been resurfaced, isn't it?
It has, so it's in good condition, and now would be a good time. Yeah.
They've done the work and put it way over there, and
Yeah.
just messing it up.
Mm.
And
In
you
fact,
know, I'm mindful
mention
that there may be some conditions in the lease.
Yeah,
We have to be careful.
Yes.
So until we have the lease, we don't remember
Yeah.
saying, don't park on it,
yeah.
which is what I thought they were making sure to say.
Okay, so we're looking for more
We
information.
haven't got the lease yet.
We haven't got the lease yet, so as soon as that comes through, then we can actually have some
Yeah,
concrete
legal
discussion.
team.
Concrete discussions.
Absolutely.
Okay. Asset transfer business case working group membership to be agreed.
So we do need to start thinking about
We do.
this.
Yeah.
I know we don't yet have the power of competence, but probably by the time we take over, or we're in a position to take over assets, I'm sure we will have the power of competence. So I think we just need to carry on as if, otherwise we can get a bit behind. So a working group would be a good idea.
And the principle is that we will look at different assets and have different working groups as not overwhelming.
Yeah.
But we'll have a template of what the information
Yeah.
is.
And we need to just start drafting that business case, even if we're not going to submit it just yet.
I mean, I think the car park is something that we thought we would want to have as an asset without somebody else taking it over. So it's worth us looking at that as a business case and see what we need to do.
And it would also help our traders and business traders in the town, if we can do clever things like if somebody stops and shops, they get a voucher which gives cheaper parking. We can do things to help the economy of Storrington and Sullington if we've got control over it.
So I'm happy to be part of that
Okay.
working group.
Anyone else?
I'd like to propose Brian Sadler. He doesn't know it yet, but I think he should be on
I
it.
think he'd quite like to help with writing the business case as
Yeah.
well.
I mean, Brian was mindful though that he would have an interest.
Actually, he did
Interest.
declare an
And
interest.
he was
Yeah.
Does he declare that?
that maybe
So would you?
Mm.
No, because I don't, his interest was on the vouchers, because I don't use a car park anywhere other than a resident. He uses them as a business, so I spend £1,000 a year on his things, but not for the company. So he was concerned that if he expressed, let's make it cheaper for that to happen, that it would be benefiting him. So I think that's a fair point. I mean, I would like to think that he could still contribute to the working group, because I think his input would be valuable, and the decisions would still be made by his.
Shall we wait until his return and ask him to confirm his declaration of interest and what he thinks about it?
Yeah. I think he's a good person to have on the team, if he can.
That's why we're looking for his name forward. But yes, we obviously need to ask him.
Yeah.
He's a classic.
Anyone else for joining that working group?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We move on now to FC 25147, Climate Emergency Declaration of Councils to consider and agree a proposal from Council Fisher.
Thank you. So I hope you had a chance to read it. Just a little bit of introduction. Across the world and here in the UK, we're witnessing the growing impact of climate change and loss of nature. The last 9 years have been the hottest ever recorded, with 2023 the warmest year on record globally and here in the UK. In the UK, we saw the highest average temperature on record in 2022, and extreme weather from flooding to heat waves has become the new normal. At the same time, the UK is recognised as one of the most nature-depleted countries in the world. Research shows we've nearly lost half of our biodiversity since the Industrial Revolution, ranking in the bottom 10% globally for nature loss. Faced with these facts, many local authorities have already acted, including Worcester District Council, Henfield Parish Council as well, and many others who have declared climate and ecological emergencies, and it's time for us to do the same. By declaring an emergency, the Parish Council will commit to putting climate and nature at the heart of our decision making to reduce our carbon footprint, protect wildlife and support community resilience. It's not just about the planet's future, it's about safeguarding our parish for future generations and demonstrating leadership at the local level. I therefore propose we adopt the Climate and Ecological Emergency Declaration set out and begin the journey to a more sustainable, nature-rich and fairer future for Storrington and Sullington.
I'll second that.
Can I sort of say something? Sorry to interrupt you, Ethan, but I will be going soon. I think, I'm certain that we signed one before. Not us, but the previous council signed one, and there was something slightly odd, well not odd about it, but Caution were asked to sign one of these, and they did it slightly differently. Do you remember, Joan? My concern is that I don't agree with it really bad, and this to me seems as though it doesn't go as far as it could. Do you think, because it says in here, taking all practical local action, I've got this idea like with Norway, where they're using all their oil money to bang everything into electricity, which is good, whereas we're not sort of spending that. So there are ways where I think we could benefit by using some oil to fund stuff, and then get into the position where we're like Norway, where there's loads of stuff running off electricity, cars and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. But I think this is quite a soft approach to that though, isn't it? This is allowing us to take practical, sensible steps, not necessarily to...
I think that the point is, I wanted to make sure that what I was proposing was practical and actually achievable for the parish, rather than going to something very extreme. So it's a first step, and this will be followed by a proposal for a climate action plan, which again is very soft and very achievable, but it's the first one that this parish has ever done, and many other parishes have taken this step before. So it's first baby steps basically, and I would like in the climate action plan, that part of the proposal is to review it annually or even earlier if necessary. So
I mean, are you happy that I don't push you into a sort of difficult situation? Are you happy it's not what I envisage as a totally really bad thing? It's a sort of...
It's not nothing to do with anything at all.
Oh no, I mean
but it's not to that extreme either. It is very...
I think it's like to just get rid of what we don't want to do is get into a big circular thing about this. At the end of the day, it's a commitment to say, right, we recognise that we need to put this, and there's things like putting it on our full council agenda every time. It's also doing what we can, where we can, to actually reduce our own carbon footprint. I think really the meat of this and the discussion of this will be when we break out and look at when we're actually putting a climate action plan into place. And I suspect that is not something that is just going to be written and done, put in a drawer. I think this is going to
We
change
absolutely agree with
as we
you.
go.
And I would hope that we can have a page on the new website that says we've declared this emergency, and that means that that actually informs everything that we do. So every decision we make would be, you know, how does that fit in, given that we agree that there is a climate and ecological emergency.
Sorry, really quick question. Does the kind of local context and information then, does that come in when we start with a plan?
Yes, so this is really just recognising that there's a problem. And then the plan is the next step of that. And the first stage of the plan is a very simple recognition of the things that can be done that aren't just putting the whole world to rights, because Sullington and Storrington Parish Council can't do that.
No.
You know, but within our domain, it's recognising that, it's thinking about how we respond to planning applications or anything else that is on the agenda, how that is influenced by that agreement and understanding.
Okay, thank you.
My concern is that if well, a number of concerns really. Horsham have already done this, and I fail to see the point of having a declaration within an existing declaration. That seems a little, I can't get my head around that. Can I just answer that? So we are talking about devolution here, and Horsham is going, so this is about Storrington and Sullington Parish taking ownership of this particular area, and so that's why it's important.
I would say that we are probably a subset of Horsham, but we need to be making our commitments, not just on but we need to, the community need to understand where we are and where we're going and what our commitments are.
So for example, what will our commitments be, and are there any costs to it?
This comes in the plan. This
Yeah,
will come in the
but
plan. This is just an agreement to actually say, right, we are going to be looking at planning for this. That plan could be, you know, could be all sorts of different things going forward.
Well, yes,
this is not agreement.
It could be quite expensive.
Sorry, Alan, any cost associated with this would be debated individually at the parish.
Yeah.
Yes, but you've already said that the decisions that we take there will then be bound by this declaration that we're doing now.
It would be a reference, not bound. Didn't use the word bound.
I heard something similar, but okay.
Okay, so
Some of the stuff we're already doing, so we've already looked internally about our lighting, our heating, and trying to improve those things. We're just not doing it under an umbrella of a project, which I think would be really good for us to do.
So it's for the parish council alone, not for the parish of Storrington.
One component would be, yeah, so there's a part of it which is how do we operate, then there'll be education, helping our community do the best thing, it'll be our projects, making sure that we don't make silly decisions when there's two options.
We're considering resilience of our community as well. If there's a heat wave, what responsibility the parish have around that? So not contributing to exacerbating climate change, being responsible in its approach, but also building resilience into our community, flooding, extreme weather, whatever that might be. Those are all things that will impact parishioners in this parish.
But I don't think residents are naturally against that anyway.
Sorry?
I don't think residents are naturally against that anyway. I think we're all doing our best.
So us actually having a declaration and then being able to advertise what we do against it seems a nice thing to do. It's a good thing to do.
I would suggest now that we move to a vote.
okay. Is that all for accept one? Are you abstaining, Alan, or are you voting?
No, I'm against it.
Okay.
I'm against it.
So
Until I know more about it and what it's going to cost us,
So one against, but everybody else for, is that right?
No, I don't think so, yeah.
Okay, lovely, thank you.
I don't know if it's got any relevance at all, but I am 100% certain we had signed something similar.
Okay.
So
So they will be
So
there.
if we have, it would be good to have it on the website, so, and if it's not, you know.
Well, because the other council did a runner, it's not the stuff that's missing.
No, that's just right now, that's fine.
Okay. Just to, under that point, B was to consider a draft parish council climate action plan, which is obviously just the start to say, right, this is now where we can look at what this actually means and what things cost.
So a bit of background, so this evening we have the opportunity to take an important and long overdue step for Storrington and Sullington, because up to now this parish has not had a climate action plan, yet the impacts of climate change and nature loss are becoming increasingly visible around us, from heavier rainfall, localised flooding pressures, and also pressure on green spaces and wildlife. So I've deliberately proposed a climate action plan which is simple, achievable and designed for real impact, but within our own scope. It gives a clear framework for action, one that shows leadership, helps us access funding, because if you don't have a climate action plan, it's going to be very difficult. A lot of funding requires that, and it ensures we play our part alongside Horsham District Council and West Sussex County Council in tackling the climate and ecological crisis. The plan focuses on some practical steps, improving energy efficiency for parish buildings, cutting waste, supporting biodiversity projects, embedding sustainability in local planning, and engaging the community through communication and collaboration. It's about making climate and nature a routine part of how we do business, not an afterthought. And by adopting this plan, our parish council will finally put in place the foundation we need to reduce or help start to reduce our environmental impact, support local nature recovery, and strengthen our community's resilience. It marks the start of the process, and one that we can work on as we work together to deliver a cleaner and more sustainable parish which works better for everybody.
Thank you. And in terms of that plan, who will be involved in writing it?
Well, I've submitted a plan already.
This one here.
Just,
Yeah.
so, yes.
It's already written.
But
It's
in
very much
sorry, in
based-
terms of opening it, driving it.
Well, so if you'll see that one of the elements in there is that climate is a standing item on the agenda.
Yeah.
I've already started to get the nature recovery working group up and running.
Yeah.
And separately from this, I'm going to be working on some of the work that's being done by Sustainable Henfield and Greening, Stemming and Green Howardville to facilitate nature recovery within the parish as well. But there are outlined steps on there, and they're very, very achievable. They're based on Stemming Parish Council's Climate Emergency Declaration, and they are, one of the key points on there is that it will be reviewed after a year as well. So the plan is there.
But you've got here to appoint 2 to 3 parish councillors.
Yeah, so
To
I'm really happy to
represent
be
us.
part of that. Everyone else wants to join me, I'll be grateful.
What was Liz's one? What was Liz's
That was
actual?
nature.
That was
It was a nature
recovery.
recovery work.
Nature recovery, and that's
I've
been
already started
revived.
I've been in touch with the people in that group already, but it's not a committee. And this is a working group again.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many people do you need?
2 or 3. Oh, great, thank you.
Mine's working.
Yours as well, okay, lovely. Thank you. That's perfect.
So
Super.
Claudia is proposing that we adopt this plan,
Yeah.
this draft plan. Am I
Have you
seconding
seen
it?
the plan?
Haven't seen it.
It's an agenda circulating.
No, it's a link on the agenda. It's on a link on the published agenda, which should be.
Nothing on the back line.
Well, you're on the agenda that Rebecca sent round, it's what we were going to
It's
send
actually
by
a link,
email.
it's a dynamic link, so when you click on the email, it should go straight through to the document.
In the OneDrive? In the OneDrive?
As you know, I've been instructed by my doctor not to engage in
Okay.
electronic communications at the moment.
All right.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, it's here.
Pass that down.
So, are we able to defer that if the bands position, and I think it's related to the free economy.
All agreed to vote at the end of the evening, if no one's had a chance to read it. It has been communicated.
Because everyone else has read it.
Let me just give Alan time to read it this evening.
Yeah.
Wait. That's fine, I guess, but I'm sure anybody. Or anything?
Ethical banking. Well, I don't know what that means.
Is that done?
We're just looking at the bank accounts.
Climate considerations and that. We're not
Did you check
the
their ethical? Okay, can do.
No, I do agree.
I can always pull paper along, isn't it? I like paper.
Which I think Ian was saying that the Editor's office had one with it.
The areas where we have decided where bank accounts are for the time being, would we be suggesting that we would revisit those?
Well, we haven't actually opened those other savings accounts because we just but that is an aspect we could look at. Peter's done absolutely loads of work. So there's some banks that work better with parish councils than others, and we've identified a few, but perhaps we'll sort of look into their sustainability and their credentials.
Well, I think there needs to be some sort of caveat that says we would endeavour to do all these things.
Yeah.
Because if we say we're going to use ethical and we don't find ones that suit, then there is a point.
We're also going to do our best.
Are we choosing this foreign bank or something?
No, so ethical banking means banks that don't invest in fossil fuels and essentially yeah. So for example, Andy was saying the co-op is a good example of that.
Bank.
That is it. Yes.
I guess
And
it's
it is a very important thing to do because
it's the concept of fair trade, where you have fair trade brands and everything, where it's actually going through the supply chain and looking and making sure there's no exploitation running through. So that is, sweatshops and
So I think it's an issue to point, but I'm concerned that if we tie ourselves and say we will use it, then
it should be our best endeavours, because we
I know that that should be
Sorry, Chairman, it should be reasonable endeavours, not best endeavours.
Okay. There's a copy in front of you. Okay. Have you managed to read the copy, Alan?
I've browsed it.
Okay.
I shall read it more clearly later. There's lots of questions here. but
yeah, I'll just
So have you raised enough to be able to vote on it?
I thought we just did vote on it. So.
No, not yet, you haven't.
What was this, the plan? I haven't seen the plan. I've just seen,
This is
this
it.
appears to
That's
be the most
the
clear.
Yeah.
I
that's the
can't,
plan.
that's,
It's a very simple plan.
Just a very,
it doesn't tell you what we're going to do.
what was that?
That's the proposal.
That's the
that
proposal.
The climate declaration.
that's-
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yes, climate actions don't mind it being a standing item on the full council agenda. Create an action page on the website, fine. Our own premises, low carbon, etc., etc. I mean, please bear in mind, Claudia, you know that I'm an environmentalist anyway. I have electric cars, solar panels. I'm not against any of this. There's just some issues on here that I think we've got no control over. It's like using ethical banking, as you say. If a bank doesn't invest in fossil fuels or other things, then that will severely damage the economy of this country, in my
So
opinion.
can I make a proposal that we change this to endeavour to use ethical banking?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the
that
only
would
change.
fine. Yeah,
So if
yeah.
everybody's
So
happy
we
with
could
that.
do that subject to an amendment.
Embed climate considerations in local planning. I mean, again, Claudia, I would love to be able to say that any new building around here has solar, batteries, raise the standard of the buildings to a passive standard to save energy. But I don't think that we, or Horsham as the LPA, have any authority to actually do that over the national planning policy.
This isn't suggesting that that be enforced, it just would be a consideration when you
In bed, that's the word I'm having trouble with.
If we, as a parish council, as you know, we can make as many recommendations as we want, but the ultimate authority will make those decisions. And
Well,
again, so I'm happy to propose an amendment which is to change the bed to consider.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, or
So that's my proposal.
even
That's my
actively push for
proposal,
it.
is to
Even
say
actively push
consider.
Make it
Yeah.
slightly stronger if you want. I'm not it's just in bed seems that we're
I've just
assuming
made a
responsibility that we don't have. Yeah. Okay.
Not sure about considerations, but
So are we in a position to vote?
So is somebody going to second that? So Claudia has seconded, lovely.
I will.
Right, are we going to have a vote now on that? Richard, are you voting? Yeah, Anna, are you voting?
I'm going to abstain on this.
Okay,
Yeah.
so one abstention, all the others in favour. Thank you very much.
Can I say, I think it's a really super bit of work. I think that's, it's taken us to a new level in terms of this space. I'm not active in space.
So that will go on every full council agenda and also on the new website as well. The action plan can go on the new website when we've got it.
Right, and the next item on the agenda is councillors to consider any review proposals from Council Momentum on village centre issues.
Yes. Sorry, because of recent issues, I haven't had a chance to develop this much more, but I will just give you a brief outline of the way that my brain was going at the time. Going back over the history of, it's long been the issue that we didn't have any toilets in the centre of the village. From a safety and security point of view, we haven't had any CCTV in the village. The previous problems around that was that there wasn't enough electrical infrastructure or server housing within the centre of the village to facilitate that. My view, when we looked at Bellacre, and we have an asset there that can be realised, Bellacre could put £250,000 into the parish council coffers. I would think that some of that could be used possibly to site a small-sized building, and originally I was looking at where the old Dalek-type toilet was that got removed, but maybe not that space. But there is some, but behind Waitrose there, you could put a smallish building that could house a server room to allow ANPR and other surveillance cameras in the village centre and the car parks. The middle of it could be a ladies and gents toilet, and a little bit at the end could be an office for the village wardens, more in the centre of the village than out here. So my view was, if we're trying to kill, nature recovery, we shouldn't be trying to kill birds with this stuff. It seemed reasonable to look at the possibility, with devolution coming along, that we could invest in infrastructure in the centre of our own village by putting a small building that could act as a server, a toilet, and an office for the wardens, and we could fund some of that from any monies that we receive from Bellacre. But I hadn't gone on to develop that anymore. I just wanted to put that out there and see what people thought
I think you're raising issues there that have been long discussed with people.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we should continue to discuss those. Obviously, what we've got there is how many beans we've got on the table, how much money, time scale, and more detailed proposal. I think yes, people. CCTV is always coming up as big one. CCTV.
And maybe ANPRs as well.
I don't know whether, they're running an ANPR trial in the village at the moment. But I was, Chris made some comments on his, on the CCTV aspect of it, which was looking at where potentially crimes or whatever might occur. And it's interesting to have a read of it because a lot of it doesn't happen in the centre.
No, library car park I know is one where we've had a lot of problems.
Yeah. So, but I think it's things like that what we should be doing to actually build this. It's
So I just wanted to get it on the agenda so that
absolutely,
we start thinking about it.
Is that something you're looking to lead a project to develop the proposal a bit more?
No, I wasn't trying to dig me out and break it.
That's what we do.
But no, I'm just looking forward to, as I say, devolution, taking over more of the economy and other things within the centre of the village, and putting some infrastructure in that would support that. And where could we get the money from? I wouldn't have thought the building would have cost anything even approaching £50,000, and if we get £250,000 from Bellacre, it still leaves £200,000 to go in the pot.
The space behind the vets that's in, so library car park, go to the vets and the field beyond that. Rycroft or Bellacre, so
Runs down to the river.
We own part of it, it's an asset.
It was the old allotment area, but I hadn't heard there was any, sorry, I guess it's because we haven't had anything. So I was just behind it.
There's nothing at the moment. Again, it's one of those. The lease has expired. We'll be talking to the various parties to see whether we can form a new lease, and then what happens next.
I think unfortunately actually reaffirmed that their desire to actually get something books to sell it. And the church seems to be in line with that as well. We were all the other parties, so we had one meeting which they asked us to attend, which was at the site, which we stood there looking at it and discussing it, but with no conclusions.
Helen, Chris Poor, the warden, researched some information for you. He was aware of your proposals or the ideas that you had. So he's researched some information for you because I'm sure you want it to be evidence-based. So if you click on the link on the agenda, you'll get, so that's in the OneDrive.
You can put that one in an envelope and send it to me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Safeguarding policy.
I issued an apology that that's something I have not managed to compute in a way that's adequate enough for everyone to review, so I'm very sorry to defer that to
No
the next
problem at all.
meeting.
Can we put that?
Yeah,
we'll move that to the next one, no problem.
That's just sheer work on my part.
IT policy, councils to consider draft policy. And
I just made a couple of small changes on that, recommended changes which are in the document in red. I've left them in the shared drive. One was around email communications and email accounts. I just suggested referencing the communication policy for guidance on content of emails, and password and account security, that we're responsible for maintaining security of accounts and passwords. At the moment, we can't change passwords. None of us have the capacity to change passwords, so I can't maintain the security of it. So again, unless that's something that's incorrect, that phrase just might need some adjusted wording based on the current ability we have to manage our own. If you forget a password or need to change it, that's I can't do that myself manually.
You're allowed to change the password when you're prompted to change it.
No, we haven't. I'm not.
I was prompted to change it. The reason I know that, I was prompted today. I was prompted today to change it.
So it's if you forget it and then you, because I can
Put in the wrong password 3 times and see if it asks you to change it.
I can't do it. It's really Johnson to get you. So I think as I said, the wording there is not something as a policy I'd be able to adhere to right now, just because of whatever's going on there. So, but anyway, I just make those 2 small changes.
We got that, yeah, that change, so at least the new clarification of that.
I get a message come up that says you're not authorised.
Same.
Something around that isn't set up.
I don't have the authority to upload to SharePoint either.
That guy, and when that happened to me once, he was on holiday, so I couldn't get a
I can't upload to SharePoint.
Oh, right.
Oh, really?
No.
Can any other
I've
councils
raised that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't. So there's something with the setup of those accounts and permissions that's either not consistent across the board or...
If anyone has an IT problem, if they write into the office, I will look into what's going on. I'll take on the password one first, because that seems a simple one.
Okay, so is somebody proposing that the IT policy is adopted?
It's a good start, yeah.
Yeah, is that you, John?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
lovely, thank you. Are we voting on that? Richard, are you voting on the IT policy? Are you voting?
Again, I can't, because I don't believe I've seen it, but maybe you did send it to me. I'm sorry, so I'll abstain on that one as well.
Yeah.
And if there are comments, just feed them through to me so that we can update the document if it's necessary, bring it back to council.
Okay, now we move on to communications.
Yeah, so I've got sort of communications brief in the ICE group. So this document is just filling a gap. We didn't really have any communications protocols. So this has been through the ICE group a couple of times. So we've endeavoured to pull together every element of our communications. And in fact, we are doing a lot of this already now. So when I first started it, we weren't. So, for example, we're using through Herald to reach a bigger audience. We're using social media more. We're being much more proactive. So we're using vehicles more to get more information out. I think we've built our profile gently. I mean, it's not always exciting stuff, but I think we're trying to be on the ball with information. A new element that we didn't have before either is around, so I've got the TV the size of pretty, it's a quarter of the page. There's a code of conduct around our own responsibility in terms of what we can and can't do with information. And it is really just to give us all a comfort blanket and some guidance. The basic principle is is that outbound communications go through the clerk. I or other people around the table can help with putting messages together, but ultimately the filter is Rebecca. We shouldn't be talking about council business that isn't agreed protocol. So something big like car parking or the traffic business, we've got a point of view and we should stick with that, but we shouldn't actually be talking external because it really should be the chair or the deputy chair that is representing the parish unless there's an extenuating circumstances. So for example, it was something around Claudia's area where she's got a real specialism.
And then Claudia will be delegated to speak.
What we'd obviously ask Claudia to do that. It was really to ask you all to read this and come back to me if you've got any comments or edits. Several people have already fed in to it, but not everyone. That doesn't mean that you can't have anything now, but I think we really would like to get this passed so that we've got a marking sound about.
It's been on the agenda quite a few times,
Yeah.
hasn't it? And there's been quite a bit of input.
Well,
I was expecting you to, but I
yeah,
close it,
everyone's
but
happy
it's
to.
been through quite a few
I'm voted
versions, isn't
twice
it?
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Thank you. Right, let's just, take a vote on that.
Sorry.
And Charlotte, Melissa, are you voting?
Oh, sorry,
Thank you very much. So that's one abstention and the rest of you.
I'll come and talk to you offline in a minute.
can I just pick up one small thing which is on here, which is towards the end, and it's just about consistency in how we communicate. So all our emails, we should have councillor and castle with the same message and the logos.
All of us.
They're all of them going out from our but I think the signature, the signature please.
Yeah.
I think so I put it in this document. So I think we need to, what I think we should do is
Shall
circulate,
I circulate one footer and show people?
make sure that the
Yeah.
two logos are
Yeah,
sufficiently good quality, because
Yeah.
I think we've got a quite big logo.
okay. I will, people can copy and paste my signature and email footer into their signatures, can't they? I'll send an email out and show them how to do it.
I'm not sure the logos, I think we just.
I'm it's so tiny, mine on my email footer. I've also got the European Store Village
Yeah.
logo on there as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we need, we don't need anything
So
else.
consistent signature.
Yeah, yeah. But I think, do you want me to use yours? I think I used yours, Andy, to be honest. I think, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can
Now,
I also just say thank you to Virginia for a huge amount of work she's put
Yeah.
into this, and it's a very difficult thing to do, and it's great to have it in place, so thank you.
no,
Yeah.
Chair's announcements and items for the next agenda. We have
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
we have a business network next meeting on 5:30 on the 5th of December. We have at the Anchor Inn all councillors.
What's that called?
No, I missed that.
Business networking meeting. Yeah, the next meeting should be business industry.
Thank you very much, Sean. Yeah. There's a couple of other things.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Can I just also add to the, obviously you'd be aware that Councillor Miller has resigned, and we just really like to express our thanks for their involvement and contribution, particularly in the area of the youth and everything else. Cassie has got an awful lot on in terms of what she does extracurricular with her kids, but also with her work as well, which takes her quite long distances and very demanding. But really would like to thank you very much for your contribution.
We've just got a few other reminders as well. We've got your Remembrance Day parade on the 9th of November, so still looking for volunteers to help with that as well, always short of marshals and
Yeah, I
volunteers.
think we've about 4 short. So
Yeah.
Tony and his wife have volunteered tonight, but we could do another couple.
Yeah. Okay.
What time am I doing? You know?
I don't, but he has something
That's
else to
probably,
say
Right.
about the issue of art you've got to do.
Yeah.
About that being.
yeah. The wreaths are in the office and, yeah. Okay. Also, another thing, for the late night Christmas event, High Street event on the 4th of December, we need a Father Christmas. We need a Father Christmas. Who's
I did for a stint as well.
it will be in the library. It will be in the library. will be out of the rain. Bill?
No.
Really nice.
They
Yes,
just
they
say
did.
us
No, they didn't say something else.
We can put you on the high seat.
Just think about it, okay? Or if you know anybody who would volunteer, if you know of anybody in the village who you think might volunteer to be Father Christmas, if you could just let us know, because you're desperate. Richard?
Anna?
And then,
I'm not terribly ho-ho-ho, I'm afraid.
okay, practice. And then items for the next agenda, we're going to include a consideration to agree to record the meetings, because by then we'll have the capacity to upload them to our new website. And also another item for the next agenda, in your financial regs you agree to review salaries as part of the budget setting, so we need to make that a formal item. And we've been undertaking, you did my appraisal and I've been doing other colleagues' appraisals this week as well, so all part of the budget setting process. So,
One more thing, Mark, before you close the meeting. On the 11th, of course, remember, it's the wreath outside the White Horse.
Yes.
Are you going to do that? Or if not, who will do it? I did it last year.
I will have to check.
We're doing the memorial
Well, we'll get that
as
as
well.
Yeah, do the
On the
memorial.
11th.
If you can't do it, and do one
I'll get back to
in
you.
the last week. Just check that.
I'll need to, yeah.
And I'll agree with others the memorial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Tuesday, the 11th.
Communications around that, I don't know in detail, but I think we should share that out.
Yeah, I think Chris, our warden Chris, probably knows more about it than we do, but
I went to the metal fabricators this evening, and the 3 silhouettes that we're going to propose are ready. The Stuart will pick them up tomorrow morning, and Stuart will put them on the island tomorrow. So, really
so we agreed those, didn't we, at finance? Yeah. Profile, was it?
Silhouettes.
Yeah. All done?
Excellent.
There's another thing,
Yeah.
but it's upstairs. I do have some stalks I forgot to bring in.
Oh,
So we'll just do that.
yeah. Nice meeting. We'll put them down anyway.
Okay, next meeting is the 3rd of December. Thank everybody for attending, and we now close.